best look for Quentin Stevens, though.
Josh Pastner not happy about that shot from Quentin Stevens. And of course, he needs Quentin Stevens to be able to make three-pointers, but you also have to know when is the right time and to understand the climate of the game and know when's the right time to shoot that shot or to pull it out and try to get a quality offensive possession.
In a game like this, possession are precious when so much is on the line late in the season. Good defense by Lammers that time on Colson.
And that's one where Colson had an opportunity to kick that right out to Pfluger, who was wide open at the top of the key. Pfluger kind of looked around like, wait a minute, why did you throw it to me? Did you forget I was on your team?
Okogie had the big first half with 11 for Georgia Tech. Hayward does start this second half off the bench. Shot clock down to 6 for Heath. A little bit congested to try to get it to Lammers, so Heath does the smart thing, takes it in himself, and he's got 8.
And Josh Heath has had success when he's gotten in the paint here, and of course he's one of the unsung guys for this Georgia Tech team. He doesn't get a lot of the press, a lot of the hype, but yet he's been a steady force at the point guard position for Josh Pastner all year long. Has had a number of big games, especially in ACC play.
Beecham got a good look. Colson at 6'5" is there for the rebound. Foul called on Corey Hayward.
We talked about all of the Bonzie Colson accolades. We didn't mention that he's also top 5 in the ACC in offensive rebounds at almost 3 per game. He leads the league in rebounding, but you know, he's also getting it done on the offensive end. And when you have a team that shoots so many threes like Notre Dame does, it's great to have a guy like a Bonzie Colson that can rebound out of his area. It's not just about what comes to him, but he can actually go and retrieve the basketball from a distance.
Lost it there. The shot clock is at 10. Pfluger. Splitting the D. Kicking to Farrell for 3. At Farrell, he's got his second bucket, both from the outside. Back to a 7-point Notre Dame lead. They led by as many as 8.
On that possession, Matt Farrell got the easy part. Rex Pfluger actually did all the work on that one, creating the shot for Farrell.
A lot of heavy lifting inside of multiple defenders. Double team comes on Lammers. Ball movement for Georgia Tech, trying to get him a look. Everybody has touched it on this possession, and Okogie cannot finish, but Lammers can. Ben Lammers on the glass with some authority. He's got 9 and 4 tonight.
And that's the benefit of having a guy with great hands like Ben Lammers on the backside of Okogie. And when he goes to the rim, Bonzie Colson actually tried to block that shot. But when you don't get the shot block, now you're leaving the offensive board open.
Here comes Heath. Hayward slowed it down. Lammers was free momentarily. Beecham is guarding him now. Colson tries to get out on Stevens. And the long rebound will go to Notre Dame.
We talked about all the battles in this game. Well, we got a battle between the ACC's 2 most improved players. One of them, Matt Farrell, knocking down the 3 in the corner. And on the other end of the floor, it's the other, Ben Lammers, who's able to finish with the putback slam. And, of course, that's going to be a great vote at the end of the year to see which one of these guys comes up as the most improved player in the ACC, because, of course, you couldn't go wrong giving it to either one of them. Maybe one area where you split the trophy in half and make it a code, like they should have done with Dak Prescott and my man Zeke this year.
Colson draws the foul, and it'll go to the line. And you said it, 2 of the guys that you believe have been most improved in this league. John Collins, excellent rebounder as well. I don't think Duke is nearly where it's at right now, even in position for the top 4 without the play of Luke Kennard in what has been a tumultuous season. He's been a constant.
You're absolutely right, but when you look back at Luke Kennard and John Collins a season ago, it wouldn't have been difficult to predict that they would have had this type of production, as well as Donovan Mitchell. So you see those guys, all sophomores, but you saw their promise as freshmen. When you think about most improved, I'm talking about guys, Ben Lammers, Matt Farrell, who are juniors who didn't have a huge impact on their teams last year.
Not at all.
But now they're pretty much stars in this league. So that's why I think those 2 guys are top. Of course, all 5 of those guys would be well deserving of the award.
Notre Dame back up to its largest lead at 8. He's spinning inside. What a take by the senior from Tampa. He's into double figures.
And Josh Heath, again, continues to attack the paint. He's not settling on the offensive end of the floor and has a size advantage over Farrell and is using it when he gets into the paint.
Nice shot to get out on Beecham by the freshman Okogie. Farrell to Colson. He wanted to trigger, but bobbled the catch. Stevens into Lammers. Well defended by he and the freshman Okogie. And it will be 9 on the shot clock for the Irish on the other side. They led by 6.5. They lead by 6 now.
My dad can move heavy things.
Resume, 3 impressive wins in Josh Pastner's first year. North Carolina in the opener. Florida State by 22. Beating Notre Dame back in Atlanta. But it's been typical inconsistencies of what Josh Pastner calls the quote-unquote least experienced team in the country. Some bad losses out there, including their latest by 2 when Ben Lammers had a terrible game against NC State. Right now, they are in a very opportune spot to try to pick up a win on the road. They only have 1 on the road in the ACC this year against Notre Dame tonight. An opportunity for Georgia Tech, currently the 68th team in, according to Joe Lunardi.
Which, for all intents and purposes, is a successful year for Josh Pastner and his team. I mean, whether they get in or not at this point, B.J. Beecham as he knocks down the 3. But Josh Pastner has done an amazing job with this team. You have to think about it. Georgia Tech bunch, and when he took over this job, he was warned that he may not win a game in conference play this year. So much to where they scheduled a game against Division II or Division III opponent in mid-February in order to make sure that if they weren't able to get a game in conference play, they could at least have something to get their guys some confidence. So right now, you know, sitting at 7 and 8 and an opportunity to even be mentioned in the NCAA tournament, that is a huge, and I know they don't want a moral victory, but that's a big thing for the Georgia Tech program.
A team that hasn't been to the NCAA tournament since 2010. As a matter of fact, they've only been 3 times since that 2004 Final Four run. Farrell for 3. Around and out. And Notre Dame stays up by 9. Still their largest lead of this game. Paul Hewitt took this team to the Final Four in 2004. They lost the national championship to Connecticut. Back to the NCAA tournament in 05, 07, and last in 2010. They did make the NIT in Brian Gregory's final year, but he was fired and Pastner was brought in. Loose on the deck. Good fight on the floor and out of bounds to Notre Dame. Still with 14:25 to play. There is.
Okay, Michael Stevens is actually going to switch that call. It's going to go back to, I believe the ball is going to actually go back to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, they're going to leave the shot clock at 5. There was no possession change, and I initially thought it was out on Georgia Tech, so I thought it would be Notre Dame ball, but Michael Stevens changed the call, and after the kick, it'll still be 5 on the shot clock. We saw the standings there a moment ago. Notre Dame currently sitting in the 4 seed. If they lose tonight, they'll drop to 10 and 6, and because Duke beat them earlier this year, Duke would slide into the number 4 seed. The shot clock was reset to 15 after the kickball. Now down to 5. Okogie against Astoria. The spin, the tough take, and the Colson rebound, and an Okogie foul.
See Bonzie Colson. You know, of course, when you play against Georgia Tech, you have to defend Ben Lammers on the perimeter.
Right.
But Bonzie Colson not allowing and really expecting for his teammates to go get the rebound. And that's what I was talking about in the first half, where he doesn't just rebound in his area. He covers a lot of ground to chase down rebounds, is the reason why he leads the ACC in rebounding.
Beecham off target. Stevens was there. Georgia Tech looking to push. Okogie into Pfluger, and he draws the foul, the 3rd on Rex.
Whenever you see Okogie in the open court, it doesn't matter how big, how small, but he is going
right?
He is going to the rim. And more often than not, he has success. And whether that's either scoring the basket, going to the free throw line, and oftentimes both.
Trying to cut into the largest deficit of the night for Georgia Tech. Okogie sitting at 11 points. Guy who is 13th in the ACC, leading Georgia Tech in scoring at 15.6. One of the truly great freshman scoring seasons in Georgia Tech history. And look at some of the names that are off that list.
If anytime you are mentioned with Stephon Marbury, Mark Price, and Kenny Anderson, that's a great list to be on. That is a great list to be on. No question about it. You're talking about some of the best freshmen, not just to play at Georgia Tech, but some of the best freshmen to ever play in the ACC.
Corey, look how far the Georgia Tech defense is extending to take away the three right now.
You have to do that against Notre Dame because you've got guys that are capable of knocking down threes. I can remember watching Matt Farrell here a few games ago knock down the three from about 30 feet to clinch the game against Clemson.
That's right.
And so, of course, you know, you have to guard these Notre Dame players that far out. But give Georgia Tech credit for doing a great job with that. I mean, Notre Dame has made 8 3-pointers, but they've had to take 20-plus to get there.
Yep. Notre Dame with the second-best three-point percentage by a fraction of a percentage behind Virginia Tech in the ACC. The top spot. Look at the drive by Okogie, just gliding inside, and he's got 14 to lead the Yellow Jackets. The lead is down to 6.
But that's the thing about Josh Okogie, which separates him. There's no settle in his game as Farrell tries the alley-oop. But there's no settle in his game. Of course, he's a capable three-point shooter, but he's never trying to settle. He wants to find his way to the rim, and you see just with one dribble in 2 very long steps is able to cover a lot of ground and find his way to the rim. And Josh Okogie continues to impress. You know, and when you talk about this young man, and I saw him play in AAU, and when he came to Georgia Tech and was putting up 38 against Tulane, I didn't realize it was the same guy. Sure. Honestly, he played on the AAU team with Harry Giles.
Yep.
Of course, he was at Duke. Altair Gilbert, who was a McDonald's All-American now at UConn, and then Grant Williams, who's starring at Tennessee. So he was often the guy left out, but no longer left out as he's at the top of the class as far as ACC rookies.
Great job by Gibbs. The hustle to get another possession for Notre Dame. Farrell to Torres to Beecham. The tough step back 2. And here comes Heath. 6-point game. Cut to 4 with Todrick Jackson coming into the lane.
And a great job by Josh Heath giving the basketball at the right time. Mike Brey wants a timeout. Does not like the way that his team is playing right now. More importantly, how they're not getting back in transition defense. You see Josh Heath pushing the basketball, and when he's got 2 guys ahead of him, you can put it in the hands of Todrick Jackson or Josh Okogie. Either way, both those guys are going to finish. Georgia Tech on their way back. But Jason Tatum has been the difference in them being a winning team and a mediocre team, especially in ACC play. So going to be interesting to see with those 2 games. And North Carolina, as you mentioned, has already clinched a share of the ACC regular season championship title. But the ACC does not recognize the regular season champ as a champion. You have to win the ACC tournament to be recognized as a champion, as Notre Dame did in 2015. So when you think about that, again, really what that does for you can hang a banner, but all it does is get you that #1 seed at the ACC tournament.
I beg your pardon. I think I said that game was at Cameron. It's at Chapel Hill, the second meeting. My apologies.
Yes.
First one was at Cameron Indoor with that 86-78 win. Not too far away. We're going to Brooklyn for the ACC tournament this year. It was Notre Dame's championship in 2015.
Sarah is one of millions of people.
Notre Dame knocked off Louisville in the second ACC game of the season. They'll play again on Saturday this week. And the top 4 teams do get a double bye into the ACC tournament. Duke would move into the top 4 if Notre Dame were to lose this game tonight. So much at stake in these final couple of games of the regular season.
Absolutely. We talked about North Carolina with a share of the least of the ACC regular season championship, but these standings are nowhere near done. There's a lot to be decided in this last week, and you see Notre Dame here today, and then, of course, they have the opportunity to get another win at home against Boston College before going to Louisville, which is going to be a tough matchup on March 7th.
5-3 in the ACC on the road is Notre Dame. They have the most wins on the road in the ACC with those 5 this year.
It doesn't matter.
No, I agree. I'm just pointing it out, my brother.
When you go to the KFC Yum Center, that does not matter.
One of the great home courts in college basketball.
I can tell you, I was there a couple weeks ago, and when they did their game introductions, and Bonzi Colson knocked down another 3, I honestly wanted to pull off the top. I wanted to play basketball.
Up there, yeah.
I did. It made me want to get out there and play.
That is a great feed by Jackson to Stevens. And Quentin Stevens, who's a near double-figure scorer, finally is on the board, his first 2 of the night.
But you see Georgia Tech back into that 1-3-1 zone, and they shifted right into a 2-3 zone. So you see what Josh Patch has been able to do in changing defenses and really in the middle of the possession. We see a lot of that. We mentioned Louisville. We've seen a lot of that from Rick Pitino throughout his career. As Gibbs is able to score off the Bonzi Colson offensive rebound, and Bonzi getting into the assist action as well.
Here they come in South Bend. 7-point game. In and out for Jackson. Okogie for the offensive rebound, and he did not get away with the traveling violation as it's called by Lamont Simpson. Kastner, very upset, frustrated. And again, we talked about it. We had a chat with him in our pregame show. This is one of those very young teams. He's called it the least experienced team in the country. They've grown up a lot, certainly. But there is a lot of inexperience on this group. Pastoria. Farrell. Will they get a foul here? No, just out of bounds on Farrell.
And you look at this Notre Dame team as they continue to progress. I honestly believe they're going to need bigger production from Steve Pastoria.
Okay.
Now, early in the season, he was the guy taking and making all the big shots for them.
Yeah, a lot of clutch.
A lot of clutch shots. And right now, he's the 4th leading scorer on this team. But his offensive ability, especially driving the ball to the rim, I think separates him from, most of his teammates because he can get to the rim and make plays for himself or his teammates. I believe that they're going to need that scoring punch and his aggressiveness to come back, especially if they're talking about going to get a win at Louisville. When they're at home, they can survive with Gibbs and Pfluger and all those guys having to being successful because you're normally able, role players are good at home. Yeah. But when you go on the road, they've got to have that production from Pastoria, that hero-type effort from him, especially going into Louisville on Saturday. If they want to come out there with a win, they're going to need a huge performance from Steve Pastoria.
Just 2 of 6 tonight from the floor is Steve Pastoria. He was 1 of 7 in the first meeting against Georgia Tech. Lammers goes into double figures and cuts the lead back to 6. We're 3/4 of the way through here in South Bend. Notre Dame battling for a top 4 seed in the ACC tournament. Georgia Tech, according to Joe Lunardi, was the last team into his NCAA tournament field, trying to pick up a crucial road win to maybe solidify
able to knock down not 1, not 2, but 3 threes already in this game and hasn't missed from beyond the arc as Bonzi Colson continues to play stellar basketball, and right there in the midst for ACC Player of the Year.
He has 17 three-pointers on the season. 3 of them have come in this contest tonight. Truly a I call him a developmental guy, but that's a Mike Bray guy. Mike Bray has had this tendency to develop guys significantly over a course of 2 to 3, and oftentimes a lot of guys at Notre Dame stayed for 4 years, over 4 years.
And I'll tell you what Mike Bray does. Mike Bray's greatest strength is he gives and allows his players to play with confidence. He doesn't have a long bench. He's not snatching guys in and out of the game. He allows you to play through mistakes. And that's why his players love to play for him, because at the end of the day, he'll coach you hard, but at the same time, he's going to put his arm around you and tell you that he loves you, and he really does. And more importantly, he's going to keep you out there and allow you to develop and play through your mistakes.
Farrell triggered a quick one that time, and then Colson picks up his second foul as he made contact with Okogie. Washington versus Washington State is coming up next. Pac-12 contest between those two rivals. I had texted with Roxy Bernstein earlier. I said, give me a note that you like from this game. And he gave me a good one, and I thought it was interesting because we talked about how close Notre Dame and Georgia Tech have been. There are 7 ACC meetings combined. You know, the 8 points or less for all of them. He said Washington State, 10 of the last 11 decided by 8 or less.
And next time you text Roxy, ask him when he's going to buy me my 2 dinners that he owes me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Roxy, you hear that?
Yeah.
I know you hear that.
Well, I did give him the option just to buy me one really expensive dinner.
I would take that, actually, in all honesty. Don't just order soup. You can't just order soup there. That's not the meal. Eight-point lead. Notre Dame shooting for its largest lead of the night. They have not led by double digits this evening. They got that side pick and roll with Farrell and Colson. Farrell lost it. Beecham got it. The clock is at 4. Vastoria off target into the air and snatched by Ben Lammers. He's got 7 rebounds tonight to go along with a double-figure scoring effort.
And in every one of Georgia Tech's ACC wins, Ben Lammers has a double-double.
Yep.
And so, of course, as he gets close to that number, that's when you know that they have a chance. As long as he's in double-double territory, Georgia Tech has a chance.
Here is Lammers. Look at that tough step back, and he draws a foul, the third in the second half on Bonzie Colson. Only 2 shots for Ben Lammers. North Carolina, 2 games clear of the field right now. They get 1 win, either at Virginia or at home against Duke. They're the outright ACC regular season champion. Kansas, personally, I think Frank Mason's the player of the year. Josh Hart has been phenomenal for Villanova, but you're going to get a chance to see one of the, I think, 3 best players in college basketball at worst in Frank Mason.
I agree with Frank Mason being terrific. I disagree. I think that Josh Hart is the player of the year.
Certainly a feasible thing to say.
And we have to mention, of course, Caleb Swanigan, who at Purdue, who's in that mix as well. But I don't think you can go wrong with either Josh Hart or Frank Mason. You know, and the reason I say that I think that Josh Hart is that guy is simply because the team that he plays on, although they're very good, I think he's extremely important to that team. And not as though Frank Mason is it, but I think Kansas, without Frank Mason, would still be good, maybe not as good. If you take Josh Hart off of that Villanova team, I don't think that they're a top 5 team.
Colson in the post, well defended by Lammers, and Colson still is able to finish. He's got 20 and 10 tonight for his league-leading 17th double-double. And it's back to an 8-point Notre Dame lead with 5.5 to play. Stevens, Fluker defended him. It will stay at this end of the floor with 15 of the shot clock.
Adam, in the spring and summer, I teach guys how to play in the post, and I'm clipping this one because that's the way you work on the block right there. And I know you're thinking, wait a minute, why am I teaching guys how to play in the post?
I was going to say it, but we're all thinking it here as he takes it in for 2. Or Jackson, beg your pardon, takes it in for 2. He's got 8 points.
In a pickup game, I was a monster on that block. I'll tell you right now.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, I could get it done on the block.
I don't doubt that for 1 second. Or you don't have to convince me of the pickup skills. Timeout here, 52-46. Notre Dame with a 6-point lead. It's been hovering right around this area here in the second half. Some headlines around the ACC. Virginia snapped its 4-game skid against North Carolina State. It feels like if London Parentis hasn't been scoring, Virginia hasn't been scoring, but he had a phenomenal game. Bruce Brown was great for Miami as they knocked off Duke, and then, as we told you, Louisville earlier today behind Donovan Mitchell's 6 3-pointers cruised past Syracuse. What sticks out for the final week?
The final week, honestly, you look at North Carolina having to go to Virginia on Monday night, then playing at home against Duke, in which, of course, is a tremendous rivalry game, to see if they can win that outright ACC championship. But then when you look at everything else coming up, Georgia Tech and Wake Forest, both these teams on the bubble. And honestly, I think Syracuse belongs on that bubble as well. I don't think that Syracuse is a lock for the NCAA tournament. I know people went crazy when they beat Duke, but Duke has 6 ACC losses right now. Miami just beat Duke. It's not as though that's the same level of win as it has been in the past just because you beat the Blue Devils.
Vastoria from Farrell, in and out, and Lammers is there for the rebound. He and Colson each with a double-double tonight.
And Mike Ray imploring his team to get back on the defensive end of the floor, but regardless, they didn't get back and build that wall against Todrick Jackson. And this is the way that Notre Dame lost the game at McCamish Pavilion in Atlanta. It was a last possession defensive transition play. They didn't get back. Josh Okogie gets the layup. And right now, Georgia Tech is taking advantage of Notre Dame, especially on the points in the paint.
Pfluger, too strong. Lammers, another rebound. Georgia Tech can cut it to 2 or 1. Handled by Heath with Stevens, Jackson, Okogie, and Lammers. They go into the post for Okogie, and he missed it point blank against Pfluger.
And that's one I'm sure Josh Okogie wants back. A little winded right now. Both teams are, Mike Bray, taking the timeout as he sees it.
1 timeout left for the Irish, 2 for Georgia Tech. 4:06 to play in what has become a crucial 4-point game in South Bend.
At British Gas, we've got some great news for our customers. Now you can control your heating from your phone, wherever you are, with Hive Active Heating for just £9 a month. Even better, you won't have to pay anything up front. And you'll never need to heat an empty home again. So, join thousands of customers controlling their heating from their phone with Hive. Search British Gas Hive.
Right now is a great time to join BT Mobile. It starts from just £5 a month if you've got BT broadband at home. And you can get online with fast 4G and Wi-Fi hotspots in more places than any other mobile provider. You can get 500 megabytes of data with our great value starter plan for just £5 a month. If you need more, our perfect all-rounder SIM has 2 gigabytes of data for £10 a month. Or there's our brand new 6 gigabyte SIM for just £15 a month. Anyone can get a great deal with BT Mobile. With a great range of SIM-only plans to choose from, we're bound to find the right one for you. Call 0800 456 1456 or visit bt.com/SIM-only.
If you need a new boiler, we'll give you £400 off until the 31st of March. Search British Gas New Boiler or call 0800 980 8182.
late January. The miss by Matt Farrell, a bit of a quick shot with the game tied at 60. Jackson, part of a huge game, had the rebound, and Josh Okogie with the biggest bucket of his young career at Georgia Tech to beat the buzzer and to beat the Irish. Part of 3 top 15 wins in the early part of the ACC campaign for Georgia Tech. 7 ACC meetings, all have been decided by 8 points or less. Corey and I were talking about this in the break. Some teams just match up very equally with each other, whether it's size, whether it's skill. These two teams seemingly match up with each other very equally.
Well, and it's because Georgia Tech is capable of playing, the 4-guard lineup, and you count Quentin Stevens in that, as well as Notre Dame. And then when you think about it, it's just certain teams that kind of have each other's numbers, and they're going to always play tight games. And these two, as permanent rivals in the ACC, will be those teams that you look forward to having, especially when you know you're going to have a home-and-home with this team each year.
Shot clock inside at 10 for Farrell. Trying to turn the corner. Bastoria to Colson. Blocked by Lammers. Farrell will get it off. Lammers too strong. And Beecham will settle it down for the Irish. What a clutch, cold-blooded jumper late in the shot clock by the junior from Bridgewater, New Jersey. Bastoria to the other side of the rim against Lammers. Josh Pastner wants a timeout. It is back up to an 8-point game with 2:57 remaining. Georgia Tech has the basketball, and this is the Farrell jumper to beat the shot clock.
Well, some people can call it high basketball IQ, or you could just call it the luck of the Irish. Matt Farrell with 1 second left behind the backboard. High degree of difficulty knocking down the shot as the shot clock expired.
What a shot by Matt Farrell, who goes into double figures, 7 of his 10 here in the second half. Still a lot of time to go in this game, but if Notre Dame pulls this one out, remember that basket going forward for the Irish.
Yeah, and we got off to a game with this that was so high paced. You remember we had 25 points scored in the first 6 to 7 minutes.
Yep.
And now we're looking at a 56 to 48 game. So this game has been played at the pace that Josh Pastner wants to play. Mike Brey wants to play a game closer to the 80s. Josh Pastner has had his pace, but yet Notre Dame still with the lead.
They got to be efficient late, and how about going to Tonra Jackson, who makes nearly half of his shots, cuts the lead back to 6. Jackson's got 8 of his 12 in the second half.
Remember, Tonra Jackson had a career high at the time, 25 against Notre Dame, came back and go for 29 against Boston College later.
Farrell again. Around and out, and Lammers scores another rebound. He's got a double-double tonight. Notre Dame still seeking that top 4 ACC tournament seed. Georgia Tech currently